Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Mark's Side of the Ring. I'm your host, Miguel Minetti, alongside for the first time in a while, I have both my co-hosts here, Nick Fiorentino and Fred DeCorte. What's going on, gentlemen?
What's happening?
Is it DeCorte or DeCorte? I've been saying DeCorte this whole time.
DeCorte.
Oh,
okay.
Bad friend. You know his last
Thanks,
name.
Nick. At least somebody knows how to actually pronounce my last name. I appreciate
Hey, I listen when people talk, and I appreciate you grabbing a drink to do this show too. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Hell yeah.
Well, it looks like I'm outnumbered here because I got my handy dandy water, but it looks like both my co-hosts have a nice drink in their hand. So, fellas, as tradition always says, tell us both what you're drinking tonight. What do we got? Fred, you first.
You go.
I'm
first,
just drinking a little just old-fashioned red wine. Nothing crazy.
Okay.
Yep. Little wine left over from Thanksgiving, so.
Okay.
I have a beautiful Woodford chocolate malted rye, and what they do is they burn the malted rye so that it has a nice dark chocolate note to it. Very, very nice.
Wow.
Oh, that sounds good. I may have to try that.
Thankfully, this isn't going to be 45 minutes of listening to Nick talk about his chocolate drink or whatever he's drinking. This is a wrestling podcast, and guys, I'm very excited because we have a lot of great topics to talk about today. It's been a couple weeks since the three of us were on together. I know we took last week off, and obviously with that in mind, I hope you both had a great Thanksgiving holiday, and I hope all of our viewers at home had a great Thanksgiving. We took the week off to, of course, enjoy with our friends and family. But we're back with a vengeance. We got our trio here, and I'm excited to talk about some wrestling. So you guys ready to jump right on into things?
Hell yeah.
Let's rock and roll.
So obviously, we're going to kick it off with the biggest, actually, it's been a hell of a wrestling news week so far. But in my opinion, we're going to start off with the biggest yet saddest news of the week. And that's that Hall of Fame legend, Pat Patterson, passed away at the age of 89, I believe, years old, or 79 years old?
79.
Sorry, 79 years old. So we got the news a couple of days ago. And, man, what a blow to the wrestling community. Obviously, we could talk about Pat's accolades, right? First ever Intercontinental Champion, a true pioneer in the wrestling business. After his in-ring career kind of came to a halt, he did a lot of great things behind the scenes with both wrestlers and being on the production team, right? Probably one of his biggest things he's known for behind the scenes was creating the Royal Rumble event, but the guy's just been a true legend since the beginning. I'll let you fellas just kind of give some thoughts on it. Fred, what was your immediate reaction when you heard that Pat Patterson had passed away?
I was obviously very sad, to hear that. Such an integral part of WWE's success, going back to when Vince took over from his father. Pat had been an agent for Vince Sr., just like a regular road agent, and then became more, took on more of an important role with Vince Jr. Just so many years dedicated to not just WWE, but to the wrestling business in general. He really, truly was a legend and a wrestling genius. I mean, he was infamous for his finishes to matches that he would come up with. A lot of the most famous matches that we've seen, the finish came from the mind of Pat Patterson. Not to mention, like you said, the Royal Rumble match, which is probably his biggest, credit coming up with that idea. But just a genius and a very, very huge loss for the WWE and for the wrestling world. So it's a sad day, but to Pat Patterson, who he did like to have his occasional drink here or there, doing karaoke. Well, I'm not going to do karaoke, but a sad day in the wrestling world. So to Pat Patterson.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nick, what were your thoughts when you first heard the news? I know you texted me about it.
I think you kind of hit it. I mean, first Intercontinental champion in the history of WWE, WWF at the time, in Rio de Janeiro. Born 1941, so yeah, I guess that would be 79. Creator of the Royal Rumble, which you mentioned, one of, I think, all of our favorite matches. At least one of our favorite pay-per-views for sure from a gambling aspect. A lot of fun. But I think there's just so much more you could talk about. And, the first thing that came to mind was a lot of the fun stuff and the funny stuff that he's done. I think something to wrestle with Bruce Pritchard and the imitations that they would do on Pat Patterson. And, when he would fight with Jerry Briscoe coming out to Real American, Hulkamania. Coming out to that, and with the shit stain underwear, being the Stooges and being such an integral part to that Austin versus McMahon storyline. But I think even more importantly than that, being one of the first homosexual, people in the business, and being like a trailblazer on that aspect of it, and the support and everything that he has gained over the years when it came to that, and the other superstars that have come out since then, probably inspired by Pat. And yeah, some of the greatest finishes to some of the best matches. But I thought that the tribute that Something to Wrestle With, not to put them over one more time, the tribute that they did, and I know you said singing karaoke, singing Frank Sinatra's My Way at the end of every Something to Wrestle With, but they did a really nice tribute to him with him singing that song, and it was, it got me a little teary-eyed myself, just because he meant so much to everybody. And anytime you lose a friend, I mean, to us, he is just a character on TV, or one of the best minds in the business. But a lot of people in professional wrestling, you saw the video by Kevin Owens, and you saw a lot of the videos and a lot of the words that the wrestlers, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson put something out today or yesterday. It sucks to lose a best friend, and it seems like a lot of people in the wrestling community lost a best friend, and that is never an easy pill to swallow. And just puts a cap on how shitty 2020 was overall. So.
Yeah, and the outpour of support and condolences that he got from the wrestling community just kind of goes to speak of how many people he touched over his long span career, right, in the WWE/WWF. I mean, I saw people on Twitter from the Iron Sheik's generation thanking him for all his support, to most recently people like Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, right? Roman Reigns, all of today's legends and superstars of what he's done for them in the wrestling business, and NXT people too, right? People that are still in the NXT roster that Pat Patterson, it sounds like he was great enough to come down and work with some of the guys and girls down there at the NXT Performance Center. So it just goes to show you, and none of us obviously know him to that extent, but it just goes to show you how much he meant to the wrestling community. Did you guys any of you ever met him before? Because I did once, and I'll kind of give my thoughts on it. But Fred, I don't think you did either, right?
Yeah, I did. I actually met him and Gene Okerlund together at a WrestleMania Access back in 2014. So now, looking back, both of them have passed. It's a sad photo to look at, but at the same time, it's something to cherish, because now that they are both gone.
Yeah.
I had the lucky opportunity to meet Pat back in 2014. A quick meeting, but I can say I met a legend. So yeah, I'm glad I did, for sure, especially now.
So that's awesome. And so my friends and I, when we were at WrestleMania in San Francisco, which was WrestleMania 31, we found the hotel that, let's just say we found the hotel that some of the wrestlers were staying at. And one of the wrestlers, or one of the people that were there, was Pat Patterson. So it's my friend Gersino, who you guys know, and two other of my buddies and I, the four of us, were just kind of moseying around the downtown area there in San Jose. And you turn the corner of your eye and you just see Sheamus and Pat Patterson outside smoking a cigarette, which I thought was awesome. So they're just chilling in front of the lobby, like the outside front door there. So of course, being the marks that we are, we go running up to them, politely, and ask them if we can talk. I can't tell you guys, and I don't know if I've ever told you guys this before, but he was really cool to talk to. I mean, he legit talked to us for like 25 minutes while he was smoking cigarettes. I mean,
wow.
The guy seemed to be like, he liked his cigarettes. So
yeah, he was a big smoker.
Yeah, like he told us some really cool stories. I asked him about the concept of the Royal Rumble, and obviously how he feels about creating such an iconic match and how proud he was of that. So it was.
What did he say? What did he say to that? I'd be interested in knowing what he thought of that, creating that and everything.
He told me that he never thought it would be as big as it became. He thought the idea was innovative back in the 80s, right, when it first started. He said that Vince, from his recollection, again, this was 5 years ago when I spoke with him, or 6 years ago.
It's actually a great story. launch of the Rumble. Yeah,
Well, so he didn't tell us the whole entire story, but from what I remember, and Fred, maybe you could fill in some of the gaps here because I'm sure you read about it, but something along the lines that Vince was he wasn't sure about the concept at first, right? Isn't that how the story goes?
Yeah, Vince. Well, Vince like not sure. He thought it was stupid.
Right, he thought it was stupid. That's it.
Yeah, and what happened was WWE had a network special coming up on the USA Network in January of '88, because the first Rumble wasn't on pay-per-view, as I'm sure we know. The first one was actually '89, but on pay-per-view. So Dick Ebersol, who was in charge of NBC and all that at the time, they were coming up with a card and they had a few things, and Dick Ebersol, who was very hands-on, said he needed something else. There was something missing. So Vince said to Pat in front of Dick, tell Dick about your stupid idea. And Pat infamously said, well, first off, it's not stupid. And then he went on to explain the idea of it. And Dick Ebersol loved it, thought it was great. Dick Ebersol, his thoughts was that it was like a legal run-in because somebody was coming in every, whatever was 2 minutes at the time. And that's how it started. They needed an idea. They needed something to fill this special. It caught fire and then turned into a pay-per-view. And here we are today. And it's behind WrestleMania. SummerSlam's considered the second biggest, but I think Rumble is the one. Sometimes some people like it more than WrestleMania.
I think a lot of people do.
It's the build-up to Mania that is exciting, right? So it's one of the people's favorite pay-per-views of the entire year.
I remember I did ask him, I said, do the wrestlers consider this like the most fun day of the year? And he said, well, besides WrestleMania, right? He said WrestleMania to most superstars is the most stressful day of the year because obviously everyone wants to be on their A game. He said he believed at the time that the wrestlers look most forward to the Royal Rumble just because of how fun the atmosphere is that day, right? I mean, whether your number going into the day, if you're one of the superstars or not, he just said that going every year to the show, the Royal Rumble, he would just be so excited to wake up that day and say, wow, I can't believe it's become like this big, of something that I thought of however many years ago. So it was really cool to talk to him about that. Like I said, Sheamus was out there too for a little bit. Sheamus kind of ditched us after a while. I think he got bored of us, but I think Pat Patterson just liked, a few of us, and then a few more fans started to make their way over. He was just chilling with us and talking. So it was.
That's funny that Sheamus was smoking. I never heard of any story of Sheamus smoking, so that's interesting.
Yeah. So it was cool. It was great to know Pat Patterson get to spend like that 20 minutes or so with him. Seemed like a really great guy. I'll ask you both before we move on, what's your fondest memories? I think we're all going to be on the same page because we're around the same age group here. It's got to be him being as one of the Stooges, right, for Vince?
For me, yeah. That's how I first knew him. Obviously, I didn't know anything about him being the first Intercontinental Champion in 1979 in Rio de Janeiro, even though that's been a lore now that it was Rio. It was been made up. But, yeah, that's how I knew Pat Patterson as the Stooge. And I loved him and Briscoe together. I thought they were phenomenal. And there's a whole generation of people that more people probably know him from that era now than his wrestling days.
Right.
Whether that's sad or not, it's facts. He was a legendary part of the Attitude Era. He was. Sometimes I think people forget how important of a role the Stooges were to the whole Austin McMahon feud. They were huge.
100%.
And they hold the highest rated segment in Raw history, them versus the Mean Street Posse.
Yep.
Raw in 99. I think it was May of 99. It's still the highest rated. Yeah. So that speaks volumes.
Nick, same for you, right? I know.
Yeah, it's the Stooges, and you forget how many different bits or things that he was a part of. Even I was watching the other day, just skimming through highlights when the corporate DX Royal Rumble to see who would be number 30, and Vince McMahon comes out and eliminates Boss Man and Triple H, and then China comes out to a big pop. Pat Patterson's there to grab her arm and say, "You're not going to go in there," and then she hits him and knocks him over, and whether it be that, whether it be the segment that Fred mentioned with the Mean Street Posse. I watched that match the other day. One of our mutual friends posted it on Facebook, so I was checking it out. Just so many different things, but I remember him as a Stooge, and sometimes the supporting actor is what makes, the movie. And he was a major supporting actor in that feud with Austin McMahon. I don't think it would have been the same thing if he didn't have Briscoe and him kind of showing Vince, wrestling holds before their, eventual first match that would end with, Dude Love, interfering and causing that, and even getting chokeslammed by the Undertaker, Fred's boy, at, I believe it would have been Over the Edge pay-per-view, maybe with the Undertaker outside, choke slamming Briscoe and Patterson, through a table. It's just a lot of smiles come to mind. He was definitely a comedy act at that point, but he did his part well. I wish I would have. I think I owe it to him, and I owe it to my own fandom to kind of go on YouTube at some point, and kind of check out some of his actual wrestling matches, because I'm sure he was a tremendous wrestler. Yeah. He had to be to win the Intercontinental title.
True.
One of his best matches, it's I haven't watched it in a while, but it was on a bunch of DVDs before the network. Him and Sergeant Slaughter, New York Alley street fight back, I think it was 81 at the Garden. Just way ahead.
Check that out.
Yeah, check that out. That's probably one of his most famous matches. Just like I said, way ahead of its time. Now you've seen all these things, but the stuff that they did in 1981 wasn't being done. Yeah, it's a tremendous match.
What was his finishing move?
I don't even know.
I don't know.
That's a good question.
I feel like it was a atomic elbow drop, right? No, not an elbow drop. Yeah, I couldn't, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't mean to put you guys on the spot, but I truly don't know. I just looked it up while you guys were talking. Looks like finishing move, atomic drop, diving drop, sleeper hold.
I was thinking sleeper.
4 leg lock, inverted atomic drop. So couple different things. I mean, obviously at a time where these moves were finishing moves and not, just basic moves like they are today.
Right. Yeah. Different time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can all agree a true pioneer inside and outside the ring. So he'll certainly be missed. I want to move on, obviously, to probably the other shocking thing, and this has just happened fresh off the cuffs from last night, and that's going into AEW. We saw that Sting made a surprise appearance in AEW. I was watching live last night, and I remember, Fred, I think I texted you, Nick, I think both of you actually, and I said, holy shit, Sting is in AEW. What were your guys' thoughts when you first saw the clip, or you got my text, or whatever, when you first heard about it? What was your initial thoughts when you saw that Sting was in AEW? Were you shocked, or I know there had been some rumors, but Nick, I'm going to hit you up with it first. What was your thoughts when you first heard about the news?
Shocked, because I missed those rumors. I didn't see that he was factored into AEW. Makes a lot of sense. I mean, I wasn't a WCW guy. I was a WWE guy growing up as a kid, but I did appreciate the NWO, and I did appreciate Sting. And to hear Tony Schiavone say it's Sting was just kind of gave me a little bit of chills, and almost kind of reminded me of 1997 all over again, or 96, 97, 98. But he came in at the end of the Cody Rhodes and Darby match with Starks and what's the other guy's name? Powerhouse something.
Will Hobbs.
Powerhouse Hobbs or whatever, right? Or
Hobbs.
So I mean, I was surprised. I didn't know that he was going to go and jump over to AEW. It was a nice surprise. I don't think he's going to have I don't think he's going to have any matches. It looks like, if one of you guys want to kind of go over the particulars, if you read Dave Meltzer's, reports on him, but I'm excited to see what they do with him.
Yeah. So Fred, I'll ask you a different question. Like, what do you believe Sting's role should be in AEW at this point?
That's the thing. Of course, everybody would love to see him have, matches, but with his condition with his neck, I just don't know if it's a safe bet. I know WWE's very careful with things, so they wouldn't allow him to wrestle. AEW may be different, and they may. But I don't think he really needs to. I think he can just make appearances. I mean, we've seen AEW utilize legends in other capacities that were a good, asset to the show. Arn Anderson and Jake the Snake and Tully Blanchard and, a couple of those guys. He could come out and do things. Maybe he could manage somebody, like Jake does and Arn. I mean, obviously, there's many roles he could do backstage, as far as being a road agent and things of that nature. But I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity on the table for him in a lot of different ways.
Now,
I understand he will be a regular TV character. So
and they got his merch out. They opened up a whole line of merchandise that just came out. Perfect
yeah, and
in time
apparently
for
it sold
Christmas,
well.
so, yeah, I would believe so.
Apparently, it sold really well.
So here's my thing, right? The fact that they're saying, right, I know Meltzer reported that he signed a multi-year contract. He's going to be used in a non-wrestling capacity, forum for AEW over the next couple of years. And I'm fully on board with that, right? Him kind of teaching the younger guys and gals the ropes there, right? Acting in a producer type of role. But you can't mean to tell me that my man came out last night on television in full face paint as Sting, the black and white face paint, and he's not going to get into the ring. Do you truly believe he's not getting into the ring in AEW at all? Either of you?
No, well, I mean, he'll get in the ring, but I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna have a match. He's certainly not going to lose to Triple H, which is, my favorite part about him coming in. But no, I mean, I don't think I could see him getting physical. My fear is that we have another, Bret Hart situation with the street fight where, it's just not. You just don't want to go down that road. Bret Hart, a technical magician, and then you're watching the street fight with Vince McMahon, and you can't punch him in the face, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. And I hope, it's not the same thing. I hope if he does get in the ring, it's, with the bat or doing some offense, not really taking too much, not having to play defense or anything like that. Well, we'll see what happens and what they do with it. I would find it very hard to believe he's not going to be in the ring. But do I think he's going to have a match? No, I don't think he's going to have a match.
So you don't think he's going to have a match at all?
Okay. No, I don't think so.
Fred, do you think he's going to have a match at all?
I mean, listen, obviously the old saying in the business, never say never, but I don't, if he's not cleared, no, I don't think it's even a possibility. Now, again, WWE doctors didn't clear him. Do AEW doctors clear him? Maybe. If he gets cleared, yes, I can see him in a match. But with what we knew before he was with AEW as far as his neck and the spinal stenosis, then no, I don't see him having a match. At least he shouldn't. Really, I mean, okay, yes, I'm not an AEW fan, but I wouldn't waste or risk his life on having a match with Darby Allin, who's, I mean, he may be big in AEW, but really, if you ask anybody on the street who's Darby Allin, they're like, who the fuck are you talking about? I don't know. Nobody knows who Darby Allin really is besides wrestling fans.
Fred's fandom of WWE is coming.
It's just facts. It's just facts. It's
go out in the street right now and ask anybody if they know who Ricochet is.
But I bet more people will know him than Darby because more people see WWE. For instance, when Kurt Angle came back to WWE in 2017, he was in TNA for almost 10 years, had a huge run. And he said so many people came up to him and said, "Oh my God, I'm so glad to see you back in wrestling." Nobody knew for the 10 years that he wasn't involved. And I mean, sure, AEW may have a little more exposure being on TNT than AEW than they did, but they were on Spike, which was a big channel at the time. So I just think, I mean, again, now could he have a big match with Jericho? That would be cool. Him and Jericho would be awesome. Him and Moxley would be awesome. But I wouldn't waste it on a schmuck like Darby Allin.
Wow. Well, thanks for telling us your thoughts on Darby Allin here. But
you can find Fred. You can find Fred on Twitter at
at me because it's just I don't know.
Let's get to the part that we've all been waiting for with the Sting news, and we talked about it off air today. I said let's save it. So I'm gonna go out there and throw this out there. This is what grinds my gears, okay? And I like AEW. I made it known that I watch AEW. I support both companies, but I wave the WWE flag. There's no question about it. When
damn right
post, right? And I know Fred's going to back me up, and we're going to hear what Nick's thoughts are because Nick, we're waiting for you here. But when people post, I cannot wait. Yep, there it is. There's the photo that I sent out today. And you can't really see in the shot, but it says something along the lines. The top picture is Goldberg. For those of you that's listening to just the audio version of this, it says WWE fans, when fans complain that WWE brings back old timers, right? And it's a picture of Goldberg. And then the bottom picture is Sting, of course, coming out last night in AEW and saying, Sting is in AEW. Yes, yes, I'm so happy that he's back. I mean, is there not a double standard in professional wrestling when it comes to fans or what at this point? Nick, I'm going to pose the question to you. Is there or is there not with this?
How long are you giving me for this?
I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Give me your best speech.
So here's the deal. So do I think there's a double standard in professional wrestling? Well, I'll answer that by asking you yourself a question. If I told you 1 year ago, hey, Miguel and Fred, 1 year ago, 1 year from today, WWE fans are going to absolutely love Roman Reigns. Love him. Best thing on WWE television. And they're going to absolutely despise the direction of The Fiend. You guys would tell me that I'm fucking nuts. But here we are in 2020, and The Fiend isn't as popular as he was, and people are shitting all over the Alexa Bliss thing, and they love Roman Reigns. So I do think there's a double standard, and I think fans are very fickle, and I think it's unfair to kind of base any kind of realistic expectations on what they think, they being us. I get it. That being said, let's break down the picture in itself. Sting was in WWE, right?
Yep.
Did he ever get booed in WWE?
Never.
He didn't get booed when he first appeared. He didn't get booed during the multiple Raw appearances he had. He didn't get booed at Fastlane. He didn't get booed at WrestleMania. He didn't get booed against Seth Rollins. He didn't get booed at all. Bill Goldberg, they brought back. Let's just look at the meme. Let's not go through anything but just the meme itself. Bill Goldberg came back and didn't get booed. He got cheered. They wanted to see him beat Brock Lesnar. And when he beat Brock Lesnar, he got cheered. Then they decided to take the belt off Kevin Owens and put it on Bill Goldberg for a match against Brock Lesnar that did not need the belt. And I think anybody would agree who's a true wrestling fan, the match that needed the belt was Kevin Owens and Jericho. It was the better story. It was the better match. Although I do think that Brock Lesnar and, Bill Goldberg had a better match the second WrestleMania than they did the first one. I think we would all agree on that.
Right.
But WWE has a tendency of shoving people down their throats, our throats, over and over and over again to a point where it becomes no longer cool. You see Bill Goldberg against Undertaker, and he almost kills him. Then it's Bill Goldberg against Dolph Ziggler. Then it's Bill Goldberg all over the place. It's like nobody wants to see Bill Goldberg anymore. Like, do it one time and go away. If Sting fights Kenny Omega for the title, then I will be the first person in line to say that I think that that's a stupid idea. I don't think he needs to be fighting for a title. But I think it's cool to see Sting because we haven't seen him in a while. And we'll get to more of the other stuff when we talk about The Undertaker and his, farewell, which I'm sure we're going to talk about later. They make the nostalgia pops. They take the sensation away from it by us seeing these people over and over and over again. And it makes it not fun anymore, not cool anymore. And the last thing we want to see is these guys fight in main event spots. Bill Goldberg didn't need the title. He didn't need to beat Kevin Owens. That was stupid. They did their own stupid thing, and then they wonder why people boo him after the fact. Well, they boo him because you keep shoving him down our fucking throat because we cheered him one time. Let him come out one time and have him go away. If he came out today, he'd be cheered if he hadn't done all of that stuff. You understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense? That's where I think there's the difference in the fandom. Do I think that there's hypocrisy? Yes. I think AEW fans will shit on anything WWE does. If Kenny Omega takes his title and fights Drew McIntyre, they'll shit on the idea because it happens on WWE television, even though it's fucking cool. That'd be a cool idea. But it'll never happen. AEW fans, yeah. And WWE fans to the same extent. You were very upset, Miguel, about the double standard thing. I could tell it upset you all day long. I know you wanted to almost leave the show with this, but that's my opinion on it, and I think it's a fair opinion. And we'll talk about it with the Undertaker thing because I think I'll be arguing with you guys on that too. But it's just when it happens so much, it's just not a cool thing anymore to me. That's just my opinion.
All right, Fred. I'm gonna give you 3 minutes, Fred.
What was that, 4 minutes or 5 minutes?
I think you went 20 minutes, but I'll give Fred about 4 minutes. Fred, I want you to comment on anything Nick just said regarding just
Fred agrees with everything. Let's just talk about War Games. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, listen, Nick does make a good point. I don't think you can compare Goldberg and Sting. I think they're two different entities. I mean, the meme, just symbolized the fact that they were both older guys that, appeared on the programming. I don't think one has to do with the other. That just happened to be the meme. But yeah,
fair.
I think if you're going to compare Sting to Goldberg, yeah, Sting is more popular, I think, with fans than Goldberg because he's been around longer. Although Sting was never, a technical wrestler or one of the best wrestlers of all time. He always put on great matches. Went long times with guys. So, Goldberg obviously didn't, right? Goldberg was wham bam, 5 minutes, and he had his run and it worked. But I think fans are more invested in Sting than they are Goldberg. So I understand your point there, comparing the two, oranges. But I still think that, say Goldberg went to AEW, right? AEW fans would go nuts because it's in AEW, right? So they're not gonna. I
don't know if that's true though.
When has an AEW fan ever once complained about anything that they did in AEW?
I'm hold on, Fred. I'm with you on that one.
When have you ever heard anybody shit on anything ECW did?
Never.
It's anti-ECW people, like old school wrestling fans that thought, okay. But if you're an ECW fan, I mean, it was fucking better than any wrestling you'd ever seen. And let's be honest, they did some shit. They did some good shit, but they did some bad shit too. That was just stupid. But because it happened in ECW, it was cool. So AEW's got that cool factor. So no matter what they put on your TV, they're going to cheer it because it's on AEW, so it's got to be good.
I think to a point, you're right. I don't mean to cut you off. I want to pose a hypothetical scenario to you. I think to a point you're accurate in what you're saying. I think that the AEW fans, I think it takes a lot for them to shit on their product because it's anti-WWE. Let's just say the end of the match happens. Kenny Omega beats Jon Moxley. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen that. Fucking Omega beat Moxley for the title. Tony Khan comes out and says, there's actually one more match. We just signed somebody, and we want you to fight him for the title. And Bill Goldberg's fucking music comes out, and Bill Goldberg comes out and beats Kenny Omega in 2 minutes. You don't think AEW fans would boo the shit out of that? That's literally something that WWE would fucking do. But they've done it before. Not with Goldberg, but here they did it with Batista after John Cena won the title. Batista came out and beat John Cena and set up their match at WrestleMania 26. So we've seen it before. But was it 26? I don't know. It's not but
26, yeah.
The point is that if they do WWE style booking with some of these old timers, I think they would get shit on. But they don't. They just use the guys in the roles that they're meant to be used. Like Jake the Snake Roberts as like a manager is cool. Right. Having I'm lost my Arn Anderson, same thing, very cool. I just think they do it differently, and that's the thing that I think is more appealing to me. But listen, WWE has their fair share of things that they've done that they knock it right the fuck out of the park. I just think that WWE is guilty of going to the well one too many times in multiple scenarios, and that is what AEW fans dislike, in my opinion.
Fred, I'm gonna let you, Fred, make your last point, and then we'll move on to topics. It sounds like you want to say one more point.
By the way, I love having Fred on this show. It's so much easier arguing with somebody who is really smart when it comes to this kind of stuff. So this is awesome.
Are you saying I'm not? Go ahead, Fred.
I might be referencing, the other show, but
okay. But no, I mean, so yeah, like you said, if Goldberg came out, Kenny Omega won the title, and Goldberg came out and then beat him for it, yeah. I'm sure that fans would shit on that. I will give you that. That's a fair statement. I just think that WWE fans or not really the wrestling fans are more critical of WWE. I think a part of that is because they expect so much. It's like you always you get more mad at the people you love, right? Then if you didn't care about them, you wouldn't get mad. You know, you always treat the people you love the worst because you expect so much from them, right?
I get what you're saying.
So if somebody turned their back on you that you loved, you'd be mad, right? You'd be pissed because they. But if it was somebody off the street that you never knew that did something to you, yeah, you'd be mad, but it wouldn't hurt you like that. So the analogy I'm giving is that I think people, because it's WWE, it's monster. They've been watching since they were little kids. They want so much more from them. They expect so much more. There's more, there's
They're more invested, yeah.
Right. They're more invested in that brand, and they put them on a higher pedestal, like, of what they expect. You know, WWE could put on an amazing show, right? And wrestling fans would be like, oh, yeah, Raw was pretty good tonight. AEW could put on an okay show. Oh, that was the fucking greatest Dynamite in the history of Dynamite. Holy shit, man. Did you see that? But what I'm saying is I think WWE's held to a higher standard. Right, wrong, or indifferent. And maybe they should be. They've been around longer. They've been doing it longer. They have more experience. They should be held up to a little higher of a standard, I think, than AEW. But the point I'm trying to make is I just think that AEW doesn't get criticized. Not that they always should. I don't think they should get criticized for the same thing. I think it was great. Word didn't get out. Okay, that's a big thing in today. You know, the fact that they were able to hold that as a secret is great. Him being on the show is great. I don't have any negative things to say about Sting showing up. I think it was great. I just think that if it happened the other way around, it wouldn't be so great, and that's where the problem lies. It's not with AEW. It's with the fact that AEW gets a little more of a pass than WWE does. I think
to a point too, to piggyback off you, I think WWE fans, myself included, and I'll share a scenario, are quicker to jump to conclusions rather than like let the story play out. Like I was an advocate for how much I hated the Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso storyline when it first came out. I mean, I constantly shit all over it, even to both of you. But,
right on here.
Before but then you look at the bigger picture and you're like, it's probably, I'm not going to say it is, but it's probably going to lead to him fighting The Rock at WrestleMania and the tribal chief and the tribal king. And it's fucking awesome. I mean, it really is cool. And even when the promos for The Fiend first came out and you looked at all that stuff in the first episode of the Firefly Funhouse, everybody shit all over it. I remember reading about it saying, I can't believe they would do this to Bray Wyatt. Then he got so red hot because people bought into it, and he got it over because it was awesome.
Right.
It took my point in this, because I know we're running long and we got other topics to talk about. But my point in this is I think WWE fans jump to conclusions, sometimes myself included. And if they just let the process roll out, a lot of good can come from it in the end.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, nevertheless, it's going to be exciting to see what they do have in store for Sting. I'm curious to tune in next week to see how Sting plays a role in AEW. But
the AEW fans will love it. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's for sure. They're going to love it, even if he's.
Sorry, I had to throw one.
He'll come out instead of a black bat. He'll come out with one of those fun noodles you use in the pool, and everybody will fucking love it.
You're right.
Dude, if he was the referee in every single match next week on Dynamite, fans would be like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen."
Oh, they used Sting so much better than WWE did. Well, Triple H beat Sting in WWE, so
that I disagreed with.
He can go out. He can go out and do nothing. He can go out and do nothing.
Miguel, I'm sorry. I know I'm a Triple H fan, but that was a mistake. And the only reason that even happened is Triple H was coming out later that night to start a program with The Rock that was going to lead to a match at 32 that never ended up happening. So it was all for naught because, I mean, yeah, they did the segment later on, which was one of the best WrestleMania moments in history with Ronda before she was even part of it. So that's why.
Very cool.
But,
well,
a
topic for another day, because I would argue that it was an awesome moment and I was there live for it. But,
the match was amazing. The DX ended up, I mean, I loved the whole match. I'm not mad that Triple H won, but
I am. It's fucking dumb. It's so dumb.
We'll spend an entire.
Move on. We'll talk about it another.
And that's got nothing to do against Triple H. It's not that I love Triple H. He's like Undertaker's my favorite. Triple H is like my second favorite. So I mean, it's got nothing to do with that. It's just But it is what it is.
And a topic for another day for sure.
Two Triple H guy. I just put you over for being on the show, Fred. Then you come out and say that you're a Triple H mark.
It really is.
I am. I hate to admit it.
Well, speaking of The Undertaker, and I'm sure you, especially Fred, I'm sure you want to spend some time on this. We have to talk about the aftermath of the farewell tribute at Survivor Series for The Undertaker. So obviously it took place at Survivor Series where it was marked as the final farewell for the Phenom, 30 years to the day in WWE. And you guys did it when I was on my vacation. You guys did an awesome show, an awesome episode talking about your favorite Undertaker moments, which was really cool to hear. And
good job, Fred.
Yeah,
I got an empty glass. I got a refill.
For those of you that have not checked it out, make sure you can go back and check it out, view it from a few weeks ago.
It landed me a gig to be a full-time...
But I do want to talk about, obviously, your guys' take on, and Fred, we all know your take, so sorry, but I'm going to let Nick go
No
first.
pun intended. My take on Taker.
There you go.
Oh, boy.
I love it. So, Nick, why don't you tell us, because I know you've been chomping at the bits here, what did you think of the final farewell for The Undertaker from start to finish?
So before I get into my opinion on the ending for The Undertaker, or the perceived ending, final farewell for The Undertaker, I think it's important to set the stage for what we think is the best farewell. And we've seen a bunch, right? We've seen Shawn Michaels, we've seen, Ric Flair, we've seen Daniel Bryan, Edge. We can count both of them, even though they've come back. And we've seen The Undertakers. I'm sure I might be missing some, but what do you guys think is the best farewell that they've ever done at the end of, a Raw or whatever, show?
I'm gonna go with Ric Flair's. That was my favorite for sure. For many reasons, but I just think from start to finish, it probably would have been The Undertaker's if COVID wasn't a thing. But just based on the pomp and circumstance and how the night went for Ric Flair's, that would be my number one. How about you, Fred?
I think my favorite is also Flair's. I think a lot of it had to do with the build up to it because we had the Hall of Fame induction on Saturday, the final match with Shawn on Sunday, culminating with the final farewell of Flair on Monday. And the other thing you have to remember too with that though is that was the first time that had been done, right? So I think that's also why it was so special. Plus, you're ending Ric Flair's career. I mean, that's a big thing. And
a bigger star in, and it's not to knock The Undertaker, but a bigger star in the grand scope of professional wrestling than The Undertaker. Ric Flair is like top 4.
Well, he's Ric Flair, right?
Right.
He's Ric Flair. You don't even
know,
So, and it was the first time that they really did anything like that, like a real send off. So I think that is also why it makes it so special. So between the weekend and that, but yeah, Flair. But I'll explain more. But I think Taker's COVID definitely played a role in it. No fans. They did a great job, I think, with the audio, with the thank you Taker and because that would have been there and it wouldn't have stopped, right? So I'm glad they included that. But as much as COVID did affect it, he's a different character, right? Yeah, he broke it going into WrestleMania, but they ended it with that Undertaker character. So you weren't going to get the same send-off that you did with Rick or that you did with Shawn. Guys came out, they didn't say anything, but I think it would have broken character too much. I know he's done it, he did the last ride, but for his final night, they wanted to keep it somewhat as much as in character as they could. So I think overall they did a good job. We'll get more into it, but anyway. But yeah, Flair.
No, so my point in this is that I would agree. So Ric Flair's to me was the best. So I would give The Undertaker's final farewell a B-. And here's why. So, and I text Miguel during it that I thought it was really cool as these guys were coming out. What I didn't like about it was you had all of these guys come out, all of his feuds and some of his friends. I mean, we had like the Godwins. I thought was really cool because we haven't seen them in a long time. And truth be told, I rewatched it. I can't tell. I don't know which one is Phineas and which one's Henry. I don't know if
they look totally different now.
I have no fucking idea which one's which. I thought it was cool to see Savio Vega, a guy who we haven't seen in forever. That kind of stuff was cool. Shawn Michaels, I get it, why he's there. We see Shawn Michaels all the time. It's not that's not something that's going to give it an extra boost. Mick Foley was cool to see. There were cool guys to see. We're not going to go down the entire list. Ric Flair, it was cool. I think the thing for me was, and I know Undertaker's a different character and it's tough to break character. I don't understand why they had to do it right now. If you wanted to do something really special, in my opinion, and of course we're at least I'm Monday morning quarterbacking it, why not have him come out in the 30th anniversary? I get you have to have him on there because it is 30 years to the day. Have him come out and say, I retired on the last ride. I'm officially retiring from the ring. And have, Vince come out or somebody come out and say, we're inducting you into the Hall of Fame. Next year's WrestleMania, we're going to have fans, knock on wood, that it's heading in that direction at least. And do that final send-off with all of these people. I think what I like most about Ric Flair's, and we know he's a very emotional guy, but it did seem like a lot of those guys coming out were surprises. At least the Four Horsemen seemed like they were a legitimate surprise. He broke down in tears and cried.
Yep.
I think a lot of these guys, if they were able to make it in a way where they came out and surprised The Undertaker, it would have been a lot more fun. I'm not going to shit all over. It just seemed to me like it was very tedious. All of these guys came out, and then they ran a video promo where all of these same guys that were in the ring were talking about him. And that went on for a little too long, in my opinion. What I liked about it was The Undertaker's final message. I like the built-in sound because to Fred's point, and I would agree, I think those sounds would have continued. I think we'd still be listening to it if fans were really there because I think all fans, myself included, The Undertaker's my childhood. You're talking about little 5-year-old me to now. I've only known professional wrestling with two guys, Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. And to see their entire careers, it really makes me personally feel old knowing that these guys are done. And I love the Paul Bearer thing at the end.
That was great. That was, I think, the best part.
Tied everything together. But to me, it was just a little too tedious. I would have done things differently. It just is a shitty situation to have one of the most iconic stars in the history of WWF, WWE, one of the greatest characters in the history of the business, go out during COVID-19 and no fans and the Thunderdome. It just was kind of a crummy way to end a career. That's my opinion on it, at least.
So Fred, instead of asking your opinion, because I know, fans of the show and we all know your opinion, we know you loved it, right? And myself included, I'll tell you that. I thought it was fantastically done as well, too. I'll ask you a different question, Fred. Are we truly done with The Undertaker? Is this it? Do you truly believe this is it for him?
No, I really don't. Do I think he's wrestled his last match? Unfortunately, I do. I know he's said in interviews, he'll still be around. In interviews that he did in the build-up for this, interviews, he flat out said that, I'm sure I'll still be around. They were just building this as WWE, they're a marketing machine. That's what they built it as. That's not going to be the last time you're ever going to see Mark Calloway on your television screen. Now, could have it legit been the final farewell of the Undertaker character? That character with the music and the coat and the hat and the whole deal? Maybe.
I'd be shocked.
Maybe now what we'll see is the Undertaker from WrestleMania this year. A hybrid. The badass. Some dead man aspects and Mark Calloway. Maybe that's what we'll see from now on. Maybe that's all we need to see. Because what more does that Undertaker character of the dead man need to do? He can come out, the cool entrance, does a chokeslam, does a tombstone, cool. But he doesn't want to do that. He said, he could rely on that. So I feel like at this stage, you ended that. Now he could just be himself. You could still call him the Undertaker, but he could just come out as Mark Calloway with a vest on and a bandana and just kick ass if so calls. So I don't think we definitely haven't seen the last of the Undertaker. Have we seen the last of that iteration of the original Undertaker? Maybe that's what the final farewell really was. But no, you haven't seen the last of Undertaker on your television screen.
Is there an appetite to just see Mark Calloway come down occasionally on Raw and SmackDown?
What would he come out to? Would he come out to Limp Bizkit's Rolling? What would he? What would
he would come out to "You Done It Now." I feel
hey, yeah.
So, is there an appetite?
I think there is. I think less. Listen, my favorite iteration of the Undertaker is the Dead Man. That's what I love the most. But I know a lot of people that thought the American Badass was way better because
how can anybody think that the American Badass is better than the original?
I know. I'm telling you, I know people that really feel that way.
Those people should.
Well, I'm not. I don't
allowed to have an opinion. If you're watching this show and you have that opinion, you're not allowed to have that opinion.
I love the Badass. I thought it was necessary when it happened, but nobody was happier than me than when he returned as the Dead Man at WrestleMania, which I was luckily there for.
2004.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, I do think, and I'll tell you why I think because we saw how successful the Boneyard match was. We saw how
it was cool.
Thought that was cool. Seeing the Undertaker in that light. I'm not saying we got to go full blown and not, he could still say rest in peace and roll his eyes and do that, but a combo, the unholy trinity, as he so poetically put it. You got the Dead Man, the American Badass, and Mark Calloway.
Right, but are we gonna see Mark Calloway at an NXT event at a takeover in 2 years from now, sitting front row like Bret Hart does sometimes?
No,
I think you could. I think he's. It sounds like he's gonna go down and he might work with. I mean, Triple H is gonna. Yeah. Triple H is smart. He's gonna get the guys. He's got guys in there that can learn from the Undertaker. I mean, who couldn't? He's already got Shawn Michaels. Triple H is clearly developing an all-star team,
right?
Of talent to kind of develop these future stars. It's no doubt, and I know I'm not an NXT fan. You guys will talk about it later, but it's not due to lack of talent. I mean, NXT is a way better product, because Triple H is, at the helm and he knows what he's doing. But, I think Undertaker, you could see him sit in front row or something like that, but he's not going to sit at front row with fucking smoke around him and wearing his black hat.
Yeah, I mean, he'll definitely be involved, and I think him doing training. I know they said that they're figuring things out because he lives in Texas and they're in Florida, and I don't think he really wants to relocate. Like Shawn relocated from Texas to Florida. I don't think Taker wants to do that, but he does want to help out because he loves it. So, listen, the more years go on and he gets away from that character, then maybe we could see him front row. Right now, no, I don't. Even though, you have a better chance now than you did 2 years ago because of the last ride. You can go to YouTube and type in Undertaker interviews, and between the press for the last ride and the press for his final farewell, he's done every media outlet you can imagine.
Yeah.
In the last 7 to 8 months, it's amazing. He's done so many interviews out of character, just in a hoodie and a fucking beanie, just chilling. And so, listen, he's been on the bump. He's been on WWE programming out of character. So it's not out of the realm.
Right, but I guess the main question, though, is will we see him on Raw, SmackDown, or NXT outside of the gimmick, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's how we will see him.
Wow. Nick?
I think we'll be hearing the bell toll.
I think so, too.
But who knows?
I want the bell to toll, don't get me wrong. But listen, it's the wrestling business. Anything can happen.
You know how you can get the bell to toll? Pay $1,000 on Cameo and listen to it.
I wish I had an easy 1,000 to do it.
Let's spend. We're gonna end the show with the Cameo here. Talk about this. So for those of you that don't know, you can actually pay $1,000, or I think it's sold out. But
it's sold out.
Yeah, it's sold out. There were 30 limited $1,000 ticket items to get the Undertaker to do a 90-second, I believe, right, Fred? Keep me honest here.
I think it was 90. It was no more than 2 minutes.
Yeah,
I think it was 90
seconds.
Okay, so 120 seconds at most. $1,000 to get the Dead Man to do a personalized cameo. We all watched the one I sent to you guys about him shouting out the grandma on her 91st birthday, which was awesome. But what kind of sick human being do you have to be to drop $1,000 to get a 120-second cameo from the Phenom, the Undertaker?
I think you got to paint the full picture. So you pay $1,000. This is the Undertaker dressed in his full Undertaker outfit. He's not like how we in previous shows we've had cameos and different guys, and they came on as just real people. This is the Undertaker in full outfit, talking
Full gimmick,
like the Undertaker. What would yours sound like, Miguel, if you had paid $1,000 for this?
I don't
know.
know.
Did you hear some of the ones that he was doing? He was like, Scooby Doo, your friends tell me you're starting your first day of school. I mean, it's just like this dumbest shit for $1,000 for this.
Fred, I know you're the biggest Undertaker fan that I know. You and my brother. Were you
Fred
legit?
DeCorte. Your friends tell me your last name's DeCorte.
DeCorte. Fred, were you considering dropping the $1,000 for this?
Listen, there was a part of me that said, do I have to do this? Like, do I just do it and then pay it off?
Oh God.
Oh no, you're not doing it. I talked myself out quickly. It wasn't a long thought process. It was a quick thought process. Don't get me wrong. But I did question it. And I was like, no, you can't. Now, I've spent almost that to physically meet him because I bought tickets on eBay years ago for access.
But that's different, though. That's different. I'm talking a 120-second cameo, a video.
Yeah. I mean, without meeting him, I don't think that's worth it. I mean, yeah, cool. You have that video forever of him acknowledging you and saying whatever you want him to say, but I want him to tell me what he wants to tell me. I don't want to tell him what to tell me. Like, I don't know. I would be like,
inside of a closet.
My name's Fred. Say whatever you want. I don't want to tell him what to tell. That takes the authenticity out of it.
Yeah.
It's like
he's just your trained Undertaker monkey at that point.
Exactly. I don't want that. I want him. I'll give you my name. You do it. You give me whatever you want to say. You say. To spend that money though, for a video. I mean, it is cool that he was in gimmick for it because
that's the worst part of it.
You think that's the worst? I thought
it's just funny to me that
because like he doesn't do meet and greets. He doesn't do meet and greets in gimmick, which
it's really fascinating to me that people would pay that for.
Yeah, I mean,
for 120 seconds.
Now, if it was $500, I would have probably maybe done it.
No, not me. You would have been.
I would have probably maybe done it.
Fred would have 100% done it if it was $500.
Yeah, all right.
It was a little steep.
You're fair. You're fair.
Right.
That's fair.
I am excited to see the next chapter, whether the Undertaker does show up as Mark Calloway or if he lives the gimmick forever on WWE television. Only time will tell on that. But speaking of time, we are out of time today, and we do appreciate you guys tuning in to obviously another fun episode of Mark's Side of the Ring. As always, you can catch all of our shows on different platforms here. Follow us on the True Exact platform. You can see us on True Exact on Instagram. You can catch the show on the True Exact platform on Spotify, iTunes, the YouTube channel, and as well as some other different outlets as well too. For Miguel, Nick, Fred, and I, we appreciate you all tuning in. We look forward to next week's show, gentlemen. Thanks so much for coming on today. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure.
All right, yes, sir.